Features like this one in Hero of Precinct 1, Patrick.
So I'm assuming this is kind of a hostage taker. Lyra, sure, usual suspects.
He does have 2 hostage takers, 2 Lyras, a lot of multicolored cards for, of course, the hero. And this is one of them in Thief of Sanity Trigger. Now, you know this one pretty well from that limited Grand Prix, partner.
I do. I do.
I think it takes, what, 1 hit, 2 hits, and they're donezo?
Well, no, actually, as it turns out, against my Golgari opponent, there were no number of hits because their cards were too bad and I couldn't catch up. But when I played it against anyone who was not great, it was game in 1 hit.
Perfect.
That round was really hard on me. Of having, like, unchecked insanity and just looking at their Garbo cards hit after hit, being like, I'm just going to lose to the 4th 2-3 Menace guy or whatever.
Thief of Sanity is going to come in here. We'll see a trigger. Take a look at a couple of cards here. Will Wyatt Darby. He is playing against Golgari mid-range. You see in his hand he does have a copy of Hostage Taker.
I mean, this is just game, right? If the Golgari deck can't kill this, we're just done, right?
I mean, we're definitely done if it can't kill it. Chupacabra.
Didn't even bother with a Chupacabra.
Yeah, that means he found something better. And now here's a Hostage Taker to take over this Jade Light Ranger and get a token. Hero of Precinct 1 is a card that has been getting some hype. You know, wasn't sure how good it was going to be upon its release, but, you know, people are talking about this as maybe the next Young Pyromancer-ish card. I don't know if it's going to be that good because Young Pyromancer is really good with instants and spells, and it's better in older formats, but this is still a good card.
Oh, definitely. Young Pyromancer is just, it's better with cards that cost 0 and 1.
Yeah.
You know, there's just not that many gold cards that fit that bill. But there's a lot of gap between Young Pyromancer and a card that's good enough to play in Standard.
That's very true. As we're going to head back over to Wyatt Darby. Looks like he's going to come in here with some of the knuckleheads. Thief of Sanity Trigger. We're going to take a look once again. He's found a fond finality among the cards. Goodness. So, Goblet Shrine's going to on the battlefield untapped. There's Vivian Reed. Well, if it wasn't over before, it might be now because Darby's card advantage engines are going out of control here. Thief of Sanity reminds me so much of Nightveil Spectre, where initially with Nightveil Spectre, people weren't sure if it was a main deckable card. As we found out in that constructed format, partner, that was one of the best cards in the format.
Well, you know, and Nightveil Spectre had the downside of, you know, if your opponent was not playing your colors, you just weren't doing anything. Sometimes you'd hit a land that maybe you could play, but a lot of the spells were off limits. Thief of Sanity does not have that blocker. It just makes sure you can cast anything. The downside is you can't hit lands.
So Thomas right now did take care of the Hostage Taker to get one of his cards back, and that's all well and good. Got the Jade Light Ranger back, but you're going to see Darby do a little block there. The follow-up will be a Vivian Reed, and then minus to kill the Thief of Sanity, which I think that's probably a good idea because that thing was running out of control. So we're going to head back over to Darby. He's going to plus. It looks like we might be thinking Deputy of Detention. Not quite Detention Sphere, but guess what? You couldn't find Detention Sphere with Vivian Reed, so take that.
No. And it would also get blown up. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That was cast. That was cast find, thanks to the Thief of Sanity. Get back Thief of Sanity and Hostage Taker. Hostage Taker, your creature, make some tokens, attack with Hero of Precinct and some tokens. This is a clean living for your Pro Tour Dominaria champion.
Your classic week 1 checkers versus chess sort of game. I love it.
Yeah. If you don't follow Wyatt Darby in his stream, I definitely recommend that you do. He's been working really, really hard on this deck. It started off, I believe, as a control approach with Esper Control, maybe Shaheen Serrani-esque, has worked its way into a mid-range deck with a lot of creatures, and these creatures are all looking pretty darn good as Vivian Reed is going to go active again. Darby looking at a Goblet Shrine among others as he'll consult his hand once again, which is fully loaded. Taking a look at everything as that Pro Tour Dominaria champion before making a selection with Godless Shrine. An Ohio native is Darby. An Iowa native is Darby. And Iowa has generated many good Magic players over the years as Deputy Detention will come down and take care of a bunch of things. More tokens being made. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Vivian down. 1 damage will come across. Godless Shrine is battlefield tap. That's one of those turns where you use all of your mana.
I mean, they've all been that way. Darby has gone just Ravnica Duel untapped every single turn.
That looks like it may have been Finality.
Very good. Gets to unlock some stuff that was pinned under the tension.
All right. right. Well, Thomas McKee looking to get back into this one. I'm not sure if his hand is particularly good. It looks like it has a lot of lands in it.
All 5.
Yeah. So Darby's going to activate Vivian Reed again. Now, what is that one? I gotta check to see what that. Oh, that was the Basilica creature. So that's
the Vigilance and. Oh no, that's the
white, black, Ravrat gain 3.
Yeah.
Playing multiple copies of that, and I know that Wyatt's playing multiple copies of that because he doesn't want to get mushed by Mono Red.
Yeah.
That's probably a hard card for Mono Red to work through.
I mean, the best thing that you can do against Mono Red is just gain life. It's really hard to interact with them with blockers and removal because there's so much pushed burn. But the stuff that gains life is very good.
Chupacabra came down and took care of one of those 3/4s. Darby's going to plush once again. See what he wants to take this go around. Looks like another one of that Orzhov creature. Cast that, make you discard. Gain a little bit of life. Continue to work up towards a big battlefield. One thing worth noting, too, here as we watch through this game is that Wyatt Darby has had Lyra Dawnbringer in his hand for a very long time.
It's just been more efficient for him to just make 2 plays, bug up the board. And, you're playing against Golgari mid-range. It's just so much removal in the deck. Likelihood that Lyra is good is very low.
Chupacabra is going to come in, knock down Vivian to 2. Now here's a Wild Growth Walker and a Jade Light Ranger. Some life and some counters, all that jazz, some exploring to be done as well. But one thing to note as you saw that Ravenous Chupacabra come into the battlefield is the reason that Darby didn't block was because of the Memorial to Folly that could come down and maybe kill something. But Darby is saying, I really want to work on your deck with the Thief of Sanity.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan of McKee there. It looked like just left the Vraska's Contempt on top of the deck because he wants to draw up Vraska's Contempt. But it doesn't work that way because Thief of Sanity is going to hit him and take the,
You get it.
You get it, yeah.
Wyatt Darby's going to win game number 1 here over Thomas McKee. Esper mid-range with a lot of powerful cards, a lot of early stuff there from Hero, and then a lot of very powerful stuff there in the mid to late game as we head back over here to Thomas McKee for game number 2. It's a forest and a swamp into a Merfolk Branchwalker that mills over Atlanta War Elves. For Wyatt Darby, just a couple of lands to begin things, and now we'll see Memorial to Folly enter the battlefield tap. My question for you as we work our way through this game, partners, what do you think of Golgari midrange? No third color here for Thomas.
I respect it as a choice, again, trying to be good against Mono Red with Wild Growth Walker and having all your lands come in to play untapped. That's something that I noticed yesterday. I played against Sultai, with much of the same stuff with Hydroid Crassus, and wow, was the breeding pools causing a lot of problems for them there.
Sure.
So if you're really trying to be good against Mono Red, I think Golgari is a respectable choice. And then you have the same collection of Contempt, Vivian Reed, 2 minute copies of Carnage Tyrant for McKee here. That feels like an effort to sort of cheat the control matchups where he may be a little bit behind. So it's a good flexible option. It seems like very good against creature decks. He's got a ton of removal and card advantage.
Cast down took care of Thief of Sanity. Here's Hostage Taker. This is going to be a pretty good Hostage Taker, it appears. Assassin's Trophy in hand right now for Thomas. Now, of course, Hostage Taker can come in, take the Branch Walker, recast the Branch Walker. Thomas has got a question about just how does this all work in combination with Assassin's Trophy. He wants to make sure that he can blow things up and not get kind of ruined, all those things. So he's going to clarify with the judge, it appears. You can see that right now. A judge is stepping in and asking, clarifying some things. Excuse me.
Hostage Taker is so brutal against these Explore decks. Because the games can just come down to card advantage and who has enough material to kind of work with things. So sometimes, you Hostage Taker 2 for 6 mana, and who really cares, right? They get a 2-minute creature. It's probably kind of past its expiration date because there's so much power rolled into the enters the battlefield trigger on those Explore creatures, and the games come down to how well can you fight over Planeswalkers. The Hostage Takers are just really good the whole time.
Now, that's an interesting card that we just saw Wyatt Darby play. He just did that little split card there. That is Consecrate Consume, if memory serves. Now, the first half of it is 1 hybrid white-black, remove a card from the graveyard, draw a card, but the consume half is 2 white-black. Target player sacrifices their larger creature, you gain life equal to its power. And that's very good against the old Carnage Tyrant, among other things.
Yeah, and it's also not bad, against a deck with Memorial to Folly to have a little bit of interaction for the graveyard.
Yeah. Dovin made a token. Ravenous Chupacabra killed the token. Cast down killed the creature trying to kill the Dovin. So now Dovin, another card, multicolored, works with Hero of Precinct 1. Strikes me as more of a sideboard card, but there are actually 2 main deck copies here for Wyatt Darby. I know this card's been getting a lot of conversation. A lot of players think it's pretty weak. Other players feel like it's very strong. I think it's somewhere in between, as here is Consume, I believe. Past the turn back, Will Darby. What are your thoughts on Dovin?
Dovin's really, I think Dovin's pretty powerful. It's a bit of a situational kind of like niche build around, but 3-mana Planeswalkers have a history of kind of punching above their appearances because it's so much about battles on the battlefield. Can you leverage your advantage? And when you're on the play with a 3-mana Planeswalker, often your opponent has done nothing. And at that point, it's just very hard to catch up. I got to say, I am not super into having Lyra in. I'm not trying to critique the Pro Tour champion too heavily here.
Sure.
Not super into Lyra in my deck post-board against Vivian Reed, Ravenous Chupacabra, Assassin's Trophy guy.
Yeah, I'm not feeling like it's going to be very good. I'm kind of with you on that one. At no point has this Lyra been able to actually get anything done. You just can't cast it.
Right.
Vivian Reed on the battlefield, sure, knock it down to 5. Play Hero
Nice.
and Lyra Dawnbringer. Vivian will clean that up, I'm sure. Bang, that's dead. We have seen this before.
Yep. Lyra v. Plummet Planeswalker. The history has not been good for Lyra so far.
Magic's worst-selling dual deck is what that would be. As we get ready here for G3, Wyatt Darby will be on the play. We accelerate things here to that. Looks like he might be mulliganing. He's got a land-heavy hand. He'll scry on the top, and now here we go. Godless Shrine enters the battlefield tap. To Thomas McKee, it's a Memorial to Folly. Hollow Fountain enters the battlefield tap. Let's see where Thomas will go. Just an Overgrown Tune tap. So both players off to a slow start. There's Thief of Sanity. That's the test card. Do you have an answer, Thomas McKee? The answer is no. It's a Midnight Reaper. In for 2, Trigger. Fine Finality among those cards, folks, that Wyatt Darby is looking at. He'll take that Fine Finality.
And this card is really problematic for McKee. You can kind of see you can make sense how the deck is built. Anything small, I'm going to be able to overpower on the battlefield. Anything big, my Vraska's Contempts and Ravenous Chupacabras can answer that stuff profitably. Thief of Sanity is cheap and extremely impactful. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a tough spot for McKee because and also his interaction for cheap creatures is muck up the ground and these things fly.
Yeah.
So this card is a singular vulnerability for McKee here, and I think that Darby might be a little outclassed in this matchup in the absence of that card. But just having this in games 1 and 3 might be enough to take the match.
Well, here's Vivian Reed off of Thief of Sanity. So Thief of Sanity is doing some real work here. That is to be sure. As now we head back over to Thomas McKee. Interesting stuff. The addition of that card to the deck. Really, really is. Seraph of the Scales is the card that Darby found off of the Vivian Reed. So that Orzhov Angel might show up here in a minute. Midnight Reaper will join the fray, and the second one of those. Now, Darby, keep in mind, does have Fine Finality underneath one of those. This gets kind of interesting because Fine Finality would allow Thomas McKee to draw a lot of cards, but those Midnight Reapers would deal him a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a hit in here for 10, and the 2 Midnight Reapers, that's 8 damage?
Yeah.
Would be an interesting way for this one to end. It could be part of the range here. It may not be Darby's plan A, but...
Let's see what we got here. All right. There's the Seraph past the turn back. Darby with 2 mana up for negate.
And if McKee sends a big attack at Vivian Reed here, Darby can just go, okay, no blocks.
I don't care.
Don't care.
Yep. But what's nice here, sorry to cut you off, partner, what's nice here is the negate in hand because one of the best ways for McKee to get back in this game is Fine Finality, and Darby's got that covered.
Well, yeah, you kind of have it covered on both ends. You don't really care about creatures because you're trying to win here with a one-shot Fine Finality, and you have spells covered. So what can McKee present here that's a problem? There may not be anything.
Also worth noting is he's actually going to cast the Find half of Fine Finality. You know, him casting his Finality appears to be bad news. So here is negate, it looks like, on the Find half, and that is going to do it. So Wyatt Darby, that Pro Tour